Welcome back to the Millennial Matriarch podcast. I am your host, Ashlie, and I have my wonderful, talented, great hat wearing co-host here today. It's so cute. I just want to point out that 2 episodes ago, you, not in a terrible way, like sort of like mini roasted me for my hat. Now, I understand that was valid.
It was.
I just want to say you've been wearing hats ever since. Granted, your hats are cuter and not as masculine as mine was.
Not Marge.
So
They're not Marge. They're not giving Marge.
I just want to point out that I was wearing a hat, and ever since, every time I've talked to you on or off the podcast, you're wearing a fucking hat. That's all I'm saying.
So, hi, this is Alexis. I am new to the hat game, and I'm going to tell you how we got here. So, I started wearing hats last summer. Okay, for my entire life, I have been anti-hat because I'm
I
like,
was going to say, you just like didn't
I'm
wear
not
a
a
hat.
hat girly. Well, I also had big hair. Like when my hair is in like my curls, I can't put a hat on. But in the summer, I spend so much time outside that I started like slicking my hair back, like gelling it and then putting hats on. So like, and right now because it's winter, I do straighten my hair in the winter and I let it go like natural and curly in the summer. Um, so I can wear hats and I also need to wash my hair and it's really gross. So like that's why the last 2 times I've talked to you, I've been in a hat. I also have gone to some events recently where I got hats. So the hat I had on yesterday, the dam with the champagne logos, I got that in an event. And like, I love an old school trucker hat. I am from the great state of New Jersey. This I got ironically last year, serotonin safari, because I mean, if you know me, you know that I have all the mental health challenges. And
Just grasping for serotonin at every turn.
at every turn. So, you know what? This hat went on my head today because I was taking Cookie out and I left it downstairs a whole year ago. Like, we have cubbies downstairs,
Love that.
which I love. And I would have been reorganizing the cubbies because, again, I'm unemployed. I have time. And I was like, you know, that hat does not just need to sit in that cubby. Like, it was just sitting there,
Yeah.
just like on display. And I
Take
was
her
like,
out for a walk.
I should wear. And also, like I said, okay, this is a cheetah.
It is.
Or is it a leopard?
Or is it right? I said it is. Like, I fucking know the difference. I don't know.
I don't either. But anyway.
But I love it, and it's a bit of a monochromatic look. I'm also in like a neutral beige fit. No, this wasn't planned.
We are very beige.
So today we're going to talk about a little bit of a heavier topic. We're going to talk about body image.
Getting laid off is not a heavy topic.
It was, but I have a feeling that this one's a little bit heavier for you and I. So we're going to actually switch it up a little bit. And we're going to start this episode with kind of how we're feeling, which is a little silly.
Always slutty,
A little bit like us. And that's our Millennial Mouthful segment. We were talking a little bit before this, and obviously we talked about getting laid off in our last episode. So we started talking about that, and then we started talking about insurance, boring adult things, but they're relevant to us right now. And then we started talking about like choosing different insurance plans based on your medical needs, of which Alexis and I have many. We're okay for now.
Yes, but mine are mental, yours are dental. Like, I'm mental, you're dental.
Yeah. But yeah, mine are dental. I've got some upcoming orthodontia, whatever. I can't even say the word. How am I supposed to ask for help?
I can say orthodontist and
there you go.
It's not orthopedics.
I'm gonna have to consult with an orthodontist in the next 2 to 8 years for some dental work. But you were about to tell me a story that we wanted to save for the segment. So tell me, because I want to know. I don't want to be the only one here with dental issues, and it sounds like you have a past. Yes. So tell me all about it.
I do. So my current issues are very mental. My former issues as a child were all dental. And I think a lot of people would be very shocked to know that I have a small mouth. I am the loudest person in every room. but my mouth is actually very small. And I said this to Ashley. I go, you know that scene in The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills when Taylor Armstrong is fucking like going to town on that cotton candy?
They're in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I don't can't remember where they are.
They're at some dinner. They're at
They're at
some
some oh,
dinner with
they're at
everyone,
some
the
dinner.
husbands, everyone's there.
Yes, and she is eating this cotton candy, and she's, like, dabbling it on her tongue, she is biting it. I mean, it's kind of like how men say no woman can bite a banana and it not be sexual, like, that was Taylor Armstrong with this cotton candy, and that's actually when I realized I had a small mouth, because I was like, "Oh my god. Oh my god." So,
Because you'd never be able to make love to cotton candy the way that Taylor Armstrong could?
it was the way she opened her okay, she opens her mouth and you don't see her tongue. Like,
Okay.
it's like a tunnel. Like, it's like
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that literally, I kid you not, that is the moment in my life when I realized I had a small mouth. So, I started having dental surgeries when I was in 7th grade. So, I have had 3 dental surgeries in my life, and they all happened between the ages of, like, let's call it 14 and then my junior year of college. I had 2 sets of extracted teeth. So your what would be your canines on your top jaw, I had to get a metal hook attached to my adult teeth while they were in my what do you call it? While they're in your like your skeletal wherever wherever those teeth hang
I
out.
have absolutely no idea.
They had to attach a chain and crank I had to go to the dentist, like, every few weeks, and they had to crank it to pull the tooth down to pull it in the right spot because it was coming in wrong. Then, when I was in high school so fun fact, I was always afraid to watch the movie Darkness Falls because it's about the tooth fairy. I can watch it because I still have 2 baby teeth, and I probably always will because my canines are baby teeth. And that is because when I was in high school, they were also it's not extracted, they were impacted, and they
Yeah,
were going horizontally at each other, and they were so low down in my chin and going so impacted that my dentist was like, we're never gonna be able to, like, turn them and get them to come up the right way." So
yeah.
they just removed them. And then obviously I had all 4 of my wisdom teeth were impacted and they all had to go. So,
Tell me that they gave you drugs and, like, put you under
oh, I would
for
no, I was knocked out. I
good.
also went under for my wisdom teeth because and this is why when you told me and you can get into it, but when you had that metal thing drilled into your mouth, that's why I was like, "You were awake?" But mine were so severely impacted, they were like, "We're not doing that. You can't do this to you awake." Also, because it
Yeah,
was, like, my teeth were, like, in my chin. Like, they were so low down that, like, to do that, like, how could I have not moved?
yeah. What was the recovery like?
It was I would just remember my grandmother so I did it the day after the day after Christmas, because we had school off
Mhm.
for, the next, like, whenever, and I remember coming home to my parents' house, my grandparents were there, looking at my grandmother and just sobbing and crying on her shoulder because I was in so much pain because they had to dig so deep to get
Yeah.
them out, and I remember I lifted my head up and there was just blood down on
No!
her shirt, she didn't care, but the recovery for that was, like, not a joke. Like,
Yeah,
I was d like, my I always say this, and it's so not true. No, it actually stayed true. I will never complain about the size of my face now because my face blew up
I bet.
like a fucking not a balloon, like a hot air balloon. I could only eat milkshakes, which I did not complain about,
Not a problem.
and I, like, literally, like, I my dad makes the best milkshakes. I don't know he doesn't do anything special, it's kinda how, like I always say this, my dad, best scrambled eggs. He doesn't do anything like, I don't it's just, nothing special. It's just when I
It's
wanna
the love
scram
he puts in.
it's the love he puts into it, and, like, so much so that, like, growing up, my sister and I, when we would go to our grandparents' house, we call it nanny breakfast because she does, like I mean, I was born in Maryland, full Southern spread, like, just and nanny would be like, "Okay, I'm gonna make the eggs," and my sister and I'd be like, "No, daddy make the eggs."
Yeah, please don't. We appreciate everything you've done here, but
Yeah, everything else, pancakes, you got it. Scrapple, you got it. Onions and cucumbers, you got it. Grits, nanny, we want nanny on the grits. Daddy, scrambled eggs.
Okay, not to derail, but I think we should, and it kind of parlays into our main topic, but I have to know because it's one of my favorite first date questions, and seeing as I don't go on a
Ooh,
lot of those, anymore, few, but not as many, because of what you said about, like, oh, like, your favorite eggs are your dad's. What is your death row meal? And I want to know an appetizer, a beverage, an entree, and a dessert. And if you don't know, I'll
no,
start.
I know, but do you wanna start?
Sure. Okay. I know
I
for
thought you knew it.
sure. Well, I know I got too
Wasn't this
confident.
your question?
I threw myself off with the appetizer because I feel that it's changed. You know what? You know what? I think I know. It's
Okay.
weird, but I would do like, I love, like, a buffalo chicken tender with some blue cheese
Hell
or some
yes.
ranch. Like, there's nothing better than that, like,
Yes.
zingy feeling, like, in the back of your jaw. Oh, I can almost feel it now. I know it's sacrilege, but I think, like, a boneless, like a tender or a
No, no, I
bite.
get it. Yeah, yeah.
It's my death row meal. I don't need to be putting in work.
You're like, "Actually, can you cut it for me?"
Right. I'd be like, and that is I want the preparation to be pulled off the bone. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, like a breaded, like very generously sauced buffalo wing with like a ranch. I would probably want I think Alexis knows this. You no, you do know this. My favorite restaurant in the world is Barcelona.
We need I still go there. I don't go there as regularly because truly it's not the same going without you. Like me, you, and our other coworker, the 3 of us
Yes.
that used to go,
All the time. Shout out Barcelona in Brookline in Boston.
and the one in Brookline is better than the South End. There, I said it.
I 100% agree, and there is not a Barcelona here in Austin, Texas. There is one in Dallas, which I've been to.
Oh, there's one in Dallas?
There is, I went there for my birthday a couple years ago. Like, we went for a concert, and then I was like, "Okay, but, like, before we leave, we gotta go have brunch at
Did
Barcelona."
you get a glass of Earth's First?
I think I did, and that is my drink. That would be the drink, the death row drink. So I'm sure you could find it elsewhere, but at Barcelona Wine
You
Bar, which
can.
is a
I've bought it.
chain, but it's nothing. I mean, it's not a chain restaurant in the way that chain restaurants are sort of like,
It's like a
poo-pooed. Like,
legal
it's
seafood chain.
yeah, I don't know what else to compare it to other than that, but it's phenomenal. And yes, some are better than others. I've been to many locations. A couple of friends and I, our goal is to go to all of them, but they keep opening more.
Have you been to the ones in Connecticut?
Yes, of course. That's the first one I
Oh,
ever went to, is the one in New Haven.
oh, I didn't realize that you knew the restaurant before we started going to the one in Brookline.
No, I knew it. Ironically, I was, and everyone who knows me is gonna make fun of me for this because I talk about it all the time. I studied abroad in Spain my sophomore year of college, the second half. And for whatever reason, before I left, like days before I left, my family, like, we wanted to do like a little goodbye meal, and they took me to Barcelona in New Haven, which is hilarious. I was going to
Barcelona?
Spain to have Spanish food, but they took me, and I have to be honest, it was like comparable slash incredible to actual Spanish food. And I don't know, it just stuck out in my mind. So that was the first one I ever went to. And then I've been to, I think, one or two more in Connecticut because there's a few.
I think it started in Connecticut. Isn't it a Connecticut restaurant chain? Okay, let me not spread rumor wait, hold on. I don't know that that's true. Let
Let
me
me
back
not
it up.
spread rumors. And then I've been to the 2 in DC, and I wanna say I've been others, but I'll check my list. But yeah, so they have a Malbec, which is, for those who don't know, a red wine. It's my favorite red wine, and it's called Earth's First, and it's delicious. The only thing I would get other than that at Barcelona and, would be part of my death row meal if, let's say, the Earth First wasn't available, because sometimes it's not, it's very popular.
Well, and a lot of times I can find the Earth's First Pinot Noir.
Oh,
I have a hard time finding the Malbec. The Malbec is really good. I mean, sorry, the Pinot Noir is really good too.
I'm usually not a Pinot Noir girl, but I would absolutely try it. But the only thing comparable on like a hot summer day would be the Liquid Geography Rosé.
10 out of 10, yes.
Very, very pale, pale pink. Like, it's practically a white wine, but it's not. And it's delicious. And I wanna say that I was at a DC, Barcelona location with, someone, a couple of people from college that now live there, and, I wanna say we had like a European afternoon there one time, and it was summertime in
I
DC. I mean, we
love
must have
it.
had, I shit you not, like 8 bottles of liquid geography, and I'm not proud of that, but I'm also not ashamed of it because it's
I
delicious.
also have definitely done that with you and there with other people.
Absolutely.
It is just so good.
Yeah, so that's either one of those are the beverage of choice. The entree would be like an angel hair spaghetti with my mom's homemade tomato sauce or gravy.
Wait, that's so sweet. Okay, I have a very serious question. Are you going on death row prior to your mother departing this earth? Is she making the sauce? Like, do we have an emergency you know what? You need to tell your mother she needs to make some that you can just freeze just in case.
100%. And the reason I wanted to ask this question yes, the reason I wanted to ask this question was because of what you said about your dad's eggs. This is a family recipe, this sauce. So I make it
Yeah.
all the time, but it never
It
tastes the
doesn't it
same.
no, because you're not your mother.
In this hopefully fictitious world where I haven't done anything to actually be on death row, but in this fictitious world, she's ready and available to make the sauce for me for my death row meal. And then I think dessert would be the chocolate peanut butter Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
I love
Or
this.
or and this is niche, but go with me, the Whole Foods tres leches cake.
I don't know that I've ever had the tres leches cake from Whole Foods, but I love a tres leches cake.
I literally, like, have it on my birthday. Like, I go to Whole Foods and get it for my birthday. I went home for something, and my mom was having, like, a summer party. We do it almost every year, but it was close to my birthday, and I she got a fucking sheet of it for my
From Whole
birthday.
Foods? From Whole Foods? Did she, like, special order that?
Yeah, you have to order it because 'cause they're basically they come frozen and they keep them in the back. So they cut them and they
Yeah.
put them in their, like, prepared food section. You gotta
Yeah.
go and say, "I need a sheet or a half sheet," and they'll
Yeah.
look at you kinda funny and you'll be like, "You don't have it on the floor. I need you to go get me the frozen version, and what's more, I'm gonna take it to one more level and then I'm gonna shut up. I had this cake this was my wedding cake."
The Whole Foods one?
Well, we had a dessert bar. We didn't have
I
a
love that.
cake, but
We didn't
we
either.
got a sheet, and my wonderful mother and my aunts, hand cut them and put them in these cute little acrylic cups with little mini spoons so that we could, like so it was cute, so we could, like, display them on, like, a little tower. Yeah. I'm a freak. I'm a freak, and I know it. Your turn.
Well, you're not a freak because I will say this. I will say this. I tried to have Maryland crab cakes from a specific location, Duchess Daughter. This is ties into my death row meal at
Fabulous.
my wedding. My appetizer would be Maryland crab cakes because I am from Maryland and I am a blue crab gal all the way because I grew up literally, it's so funny. I went to Maine like as an adult with like one of my friends and she was like, "Do you know how to crack into a lobster tail?" I was like, "Bitch, I've been cracking into crab legs since I was like 5."
Step aside.
And I was like, "Step aside." It is very different and lobster is easier to pick into than crab. I said what I said. So I tried to bring them to my have them at my wedding, and let me tell you, I laid it on thick. I laid the dead mom card on thick. "Oh, these were our favorite crab cakes, blah, blah, blah." And I will say this, I tend to not enjoy crab cakes outside of the state of Maryland, and I live in New England. I'm not saying they're not good here. They are not what I want.
You're not the first, second, or third person to tell me that, and I completely understand. I get it.
So, basically, I straight up said to my husband, I said, "We will not have," and he knows because he knows who he married. And he also has had these crab cakes, so he gets it. I was like, "I will," because our venue offered crab cakes, and I was like, "No."
Yeah.
But and I offered to pay for them all, and all they would have had to do was assemble them, but they said no. Um, and I will say this, I said this to my father. I go, "I'm trying to get crab cakes from Duchess, the restaurant is Duchess Daughter, but I don't think it's gonna go our way." And he goes, "Then no crab cakes."
Right. Don't bother. If you're not gonna do it right, don't do it at all, okay?
Right.
I
So,
respect
I'm
the
gonna
hell
say
out of
this,
that.
I do too. So, my Oh, so guess what I did? The day after my wedding, I had a barbecue here because I live by the airport. So, like, as people, like, came and flew out, I told them to swing by, and damn right, I had those crab cakes.
Bet your sweet ass we had the fucking crab cake.
The princess well, I'm a queen, not a princess. The queen still had her crab cakes on her wedding weekend, but she
Love
didn't
that
have
for
them at her
you.
reception.
And as a teaser, we will absolutely be dedicating an episode to wedding planning. So stay tuned for that.
So my death row meal, that's my app, but here's the drink. Um, if you know me, I am in the filthiest fucking dirty martini you've ever had. I tell yes! So I actually have this same so Ashley's wearing a martini sweatshirt. I just want you all to you can't see her.
Yeah,
I have this same serotonin safari hat and a live laugh drink with a martini. Like the amount of martini accoutrement I have. I mean, Ashley, I changed 3 times for my wedding. I don't want to hear it. My after party dress was a sequin dress with a giant martini glass.
you didn't
So,
show me that one.
yeah, I know I don't have any pictures of it, I don't think.
What?
'Cause I put it I do have I mean, I could literally pull the dress up. It's, like, literally right there in a bag of things that have to get dry cleaned from the wedding that I still haven't done.
Maybe you throw that in the promo
But
for this.
just pull the dress up, but,
Man, let the people see it.
and it is from Show Me Your Muumuu. Shout out to Show Me Your Muumuu because I wore 3 muumuu dresses that weekend.
Such a
I wore
fan.
a yellow dress from Muumuu for my rehearsal dinner. I wore the most kick-ass disco ball jumpsuit. My tits were at my chin. It was amazing for the actual reception at the wedding because I had like a big dress. I couldn't be pop locking and dropping it. I couldn't be Jersey turnpiking in that dress. So I put on a jumpsuit. And then the martini dress was muumuu as well that I changed in for the after party. So now, but let me tell you, I want my martini. So what I tell people, this is how I order my martini. I say, I want an extra dirty martini, but I want it to taste like the ocean floor. I want it to be the saltiest fucking thing you've ever had. I don't want I know based on the color, it better be cloudy. It better be fucking cloudy. If I can see through it, that's not enough olive juice. My family makes fun. They're like, you should just ask for olive juice. And I'm like, no, because the vodka is important.
Right.
Now that's the liquid. Then the vodka is Belvedere. Then I do blue cheese, stuffed olives, hand stuffed olives. I don't want that prepackaged stuff shit. I want you shoving that blue cheese in there. Yeah, so that's the drink. Ooh,
Brilliant.
the appetizer is the crab cakes. The meal. The meal is going to be, ooh, Lord, oh God. Okay, so I have so many options because when I went to not my Michelin star restaurant, but when I went to
Girl
I
can
went to
dream.
a yeah, I went to, my husband and I also went to a Michelin star restaurant on our, mini moon, as Ashley had talked about last episode. Her and her husband had gone, and everything, honestly, that they served me, like, I would love to have it all again. But I'm gonna go with a surf and turf, but I want a medium rare bone-in ribeye with a seafood medley. So I want raw oysters, I want steamed clams. I'll stick there. Dessert, creme brulee.
Oh, good
Every
choice.
time if creme brulee is on a menu, I order it.
You get it. I think I did know
Yeah.
that about you, and I also feel like your meal, all of it sort of makes sense in pairs. Like, I'm going from buffalo chicken to spaghetti, wherein you're like, "No, I'm a true, like, Northeasterner. I'm gonna have a nice little seafood medley." And the surf and turf, I like what you did there because you get a little bit of both, and you probably get a side. Would you do, like, a mashed potato?
Cream spinach, always
Oh!
cream spinach. I would actually do a double order of cream spinach. However, I'm dying, so buttery mashed potatoes that my dad made. My dad makes the best mashed potatoes.
Well, there you go, and if they gave you a death row breakfast, we know you're gonna request your dad's eggs.
My death row breakfast is a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese with salt, pepper, ketchup on a round roll.
Ugh.
But actually, if I'm dying, I'll do it on a full bagel from New Jersey, from Mountain Lakes Bagels in New Jersey. That's the death
There
row
is
breakfast.
nothing I miss more about living in the Northeast. And as a reminder, I was born in New York. then a good ol', like, bodega egg and
Mhm.
cheese on a roll, or, of course, like a bagel with schmear and
Bagel.
lox and
Oh,
capers and onions, and you can only and I think New Jersey's fantastic too. Like, I don't necessarily like I don't
yeah, it's the
necessarily feel
water.
strongly about, like, a New York versus New Jersey like,
No,
it's
no.
all good, and I'm telling you, no offense to the rest of the country or the world, but I'm sorry, that sort of, like, concoction of states just does it better, and I
Does
don't know
it
how,
better.
I don't know why.
It's the water. It is the water.
I know, and I've heard people say that's bullshit, and I don't care what it is,
No,
it's
there's a
magic.
place in Boston that actually, like,
Brings
oh
in
god,
Is it
brings
South Street
in
bagels?
no, there's have you ever so I don't know if this is so there's this place called Pop-Up Bagel.
It's on my list. I want them to open up one here in Austin. I've never
So
had.
they basically I can't remember, they told us that it's I think that they make I don't know well, I don't think they ship I don't think they transport the water, but they definitely, like, the dough is coming from that area.
Mm,
So the
okay,
dough is coming from that water.
that explains it.
I love that we're also this episode's about body positivity, and we have just talked about food for the
I actually think it's a perfect segue. I wanna touch on the fact that this was a literal millennial mouthful segment because we talked about your mouth and your dental problems, and we talked about food, but I actually think it's a perfect segue,
I'm
and
crying.
here's why. I think we're gonna shift into it. I wanna preface this by saying this is a really hard topic for me. Like, this is something that I used to never be able to talk about. There was too
Really?
much
I feel like you and I always talked about it.
think we talked about it to an extent. I think there might even be some things I shared today that you're like, "Oh, whoa, like, wasn't really
Okay,
sure
fair.
about that." I think I was
Yeah.
coming into my understanding at that time in, like, those early 20s, but I didn't really, like, start to really, like, go about it in, I think, a healthy way until I was probably, like, 26, but
100%.
before that, there was too much shame, there was too much secrecy I had around it, but talking about it has made it easier to deal with and has helped me sort of get onto a road of healing because
Yeah.
I've always been overweight. You know, I've almost always known and been conscious of that. Sort of the way that I think about my body image, food, my weight, movement, is a really, like, twisted web for me, and I've
Yeah.
come a long way, and I'm sort of happy to share kind of a little bit more about that, but, yeah, I just wanted to set the tone that it's a really hard topic for me. I understand that it's a really hard topic for other people, or there might be people listening who have no idea what I'm talking about because they've just never thought about their body or food the way that maybe some of us do. I know that you resonate with some of this, but, yeah, sort
Yeah.
of
We're 2
curious
different
or
people.
yeah.
But I wanna say one thing before you, because 'cause I'm gonna let you take the floor with this. I'm not going to repeat what you shared with me, but in terms of, like, secrecy, I remember a conversation that you and I had, when we were working together about some of your eating habits
Mhm.
and how you felt such shame around them, and I remember when you told me, and I was like, "Ashley, we all have secrets and shame and habits that, like, aren't ideal," and, like, I still remember what that habit was for you, and if you bring it up,
Mhm.
I'll echo it, but I'm
Mhm.
not gonna share it for you.
Mhm.
But I remember you telling me it, and I go, "My biggest concern is not the behavior that you're doing, it's that you're literally doing it while you're laying down, and I feel like we need to do it sitting up."
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, some people might take that metaphorically, but she meant it literally, and that is something you'd be happy to know that's something I no longer do. Um, but well, the laying down part, well, this is people are like, "What the fuck are they
Uh,
talking about?"
no, Ashley, I remember when you told me it wasn't that I literally was like, "Can you just sit up?"
Yeah. Yeah. Restriction when it comes to food has sort of like always been on my radar.
Yeah.
And like out of that, I developed habits like sneaking food, which eventually turned into restriction and binge eating cycles. So, what Alexis is referring to is sort of my binge eating. Later in life, I because of sort of the secrecy and the shame around it, I would always do it alone, and I would always do it, in my bedroom. And when, in my early 20s, I had a roommate, and so I would just sort of eat in my bedroom, and I would like eat on my bed instead of like sitting at the dining room table or something that we had. And that might not mean much to some people, but for me it became sort of this like habitual um ritual that I would do. Yeah, I won't sort of get into the details of that too much, but that sort of like was a big issue for me, but it stemmed from a place of restriction, because when you restrict and you don't allow yourself to eat certain things, or you don't allow yourself to eat at all, or you don't allow yourself to eat for a long period of time, well, if you're a red-blooded human being, at some point, you're going to either decide to continue to restrict, or you're going to sort of allow those things to fall away, and then in the privacy of your home or your bedroom, you could potentially decide, like I did, to sort of make up for the day by binging a lot of food, and then ultimately that can lead to a lot of physical discomfort, and then shame, and then the cycle starts all over again the next day.
Totally.
So that's kind of where I was when I was 9, 11, and then again at 13. I went to weight loss camp, or fat camp, as some people call it. Um,
Call it what it was called when you went, because now it would be called something very different. But we are children of the 90s.
it was called weight loss camp. It was. There was sort
Okay,
of
so
this
like the
like
actual, it was weight
it
loss camp.
was. It
Okay.
was it was sort of a softer approach to fat camp, but I can tell you right now it wasn't soft enough.
Well, do you remember that show on MTV that I don't know what that show was called, but
Yes.
it 100% was about a fat camp. And I
Yes.
think that that's what they called it. I think the show was called like Fat Camp.
The camp that they went to was one that I considered going to. I'm sure you're all thinking, "What do you mean you were 9 and 11 and 13?" There's a longer story behind that, a story that maybe I'll share one day and maybe not, but, I had a choice in the matter in terms of where I was gonna go, and that I remember seeing it and being like, "Oh, like, I almost went there." I think the one they went to was a little too outdoorsy for me, like, it was
It
a
was
little, like,
very outdoorsy.
everyone was in cabins, and, trust me, mine was not the fucking Ritz-Carlton, but just wasn't so focused on, like, the outdoors and being in the woods. It was actually hosted on a boarding school campus, so it wasn't very bougie, it wasn't very nice, but it was like you were in sort of like a cinder block that sounds bad, but you're in, like, a dorm versus, like, a cabin. So to me, I was just like, "Well, that feels a little more safe." Feels a little more my speed.
So I'm just gonna say this because I did quickly Google it. The documentary that MTV did in 2006 was called it was called MTV Fat Camp.
Alright then. Yeah.
Because I was like, I know that because I don't use terminology like that. So I was like,
Yeah.
but yeah. So
Does it say what year?
2006. At least
Okay.
that's when this documentary that like I'm thinking about
Yes.
came out, because I just remember watching that as a also chunky, chubby, more to love kid, being like, the public weigh-ins all never sat well with me. Like I am somebody who to this day, when I go to the doctor, I tell them, and it's in my chart, unless there is a medical reason that we need to talk about my weight, I am happy at my size and I do not want to talk about it. But it took me a long time to get there.
And I wanna be super, super clear to people that are listening and maybe have never heard of any of this. that healthy at every size is a thing.
Uh-huh.
Just because you don't look a certain way or weigh a certain amount does not mean that you're healthy. I believe in
Totally.
health. Alexis believes in health. I believe in getting your blood work. I believe in maintaining movement to keep your heart healthy and your limbs limber. And I believe in nourishing your body. And it took me a really long time to get to all of that. But I do want to emphasize what Alexis is saying, which is healthy can be at every size. And we don't all look the same for a reason. And our bodies are all different, but you can be healthy no matter what you look like on the outside.
100%.
It took me a long time to believe that.
We didn't grow up with that messaging though, Ashley, and that's where it's like I I so growing up, I struggled with my weight as well. I struggled a lot with it in terms of my relationship with my mom, and there were times in my life where that, really took a hit. And as I got older, I realized that my mom's, because we talked about it, my mom's pressure and fixation on my size was just her pressure and fixation on how she grew up and her size.
Okay.
So, it my mother when she got married was I think like 113 pounds, 116 pounds. I was 113, 116 pounds by the time I think I was in somewhere between like 3rd and 5th grade.
Mhm.
So, I couldn't I mean, I never had the dream of wearing my mother's wedding dress, but that was never gonna be an option because by the time I was barely at puberty, I was bigger than she was at her when she married my father.
Yeah.
So, I all of this to say,
And yet, she still struggled with how
and yet she's
her
yeah,
perception
because of
of
the
her body.
well, and it's the messages in the media. And, when I think about commercials growing up, I see Skintimate and Dove and Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and and lean cuisines and like, and all of that messaging around like, okay, first of all, I'm going to say this. I don't care what size you are. Real food is always gonna be better for you than fake food. It's
Yeah.
why I choose to use butter instead of margarine. It's why I use sugar over Splenda, but that is a choice that I made as an adult. I grew up in a Splenda household. I
Mm.
grew up in a lean cuisine household.
Mhm.
And, I had a working mother, lean cuisine's easy, grab for lunch, she was out the door. But,
Right.
I don't think it was until I went to college where I was like, I want to eat real food.
Interesting. Do you feel like things like lean cuisine and things like that were sort of born out of necessity because, you had working parents and it's just easier to have something in the house for you that was sort of like microwavable? Or was it more about, yes, that necessity exists for ease, but also we wanna make sure as a household that we're not eating full fat foods or like
I love this question because I can answer it from about 3 sides. I can answer it
okay.
as a marketer, I can answer
Right.
it as, a woman, and I also could answer it as, a father going grocery shopping. So I'm going to start as a marketer because that's just who I am. From a marketing perspective, it is typically the woman or the female, whoever sits in that role,
Yep.
that is doing the grocery shopping. So if you want to talk about from a branding perspective, if you want to look at lean cuisine versus hungry man,
Mhm.
a woman is going to gravitate more towards a lean cuisine because the messaging around a lean cuisine is, oh, slim, small portions. You can eat that pasta for lunch every day and it's not going to kill you. Fun fact, I we are not going to talk about this, but I truly think that our parents' generation is going to be the first generation that does not live as old as their parents, and I think it's because of the food that they ate. That is a theory. I
Yeah.
cannot, I have nothing to stand on, but, um, I think that, you know, as women, we are taught from a very young age to be small. And I don't mean physically. I mean, I do mean physically, but I also mean demure, quiet. Like we are taught and bred to be small. And so if we're supposed to be physically small, that means we're also not going to be taking up a lot of space
Mhm.
physically, but also emotionally.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think that, you know, a lot, listen, I grew up in a household where I was on diets all the time by choice. My mother was on diets all the time by choice. My father is a super active, healthy man, but he works out and is like a lifts weights. And my entire life, my dad has been on, I say like a fad diet,
Mm.
but they're not fad diets because my dad actually changes his lifestyle and does all that stuff. But like I grew up in a household where I saw, oh, when people restrict what they eat, they get nasty. When I
Mm.
restrict what I eat, I get nasty.
Okay.
So
I'm so proud that little you had that, like, forethought. Like, what a mature thought.
I don't know that little me had it in I don't know when I started to realize that, but I think I was in high school or maybe I was in college. I lost between freshman and sophomore year, I lost significant amount of weight and I didn't do it healthily. Um You know, I drank a lot of coffee. I would drink coffee instead of eating meals. I worked out, you know, at minimum 5 days a week. I was very, very, very restrictive. And it wasn't until I got too small that I felt like my mom's narrative changed.
Mm.
So,
And did that and when you say
mhm.
narrative changed, meaning she then perhaps was concerned and sort of changed, and did that bother you?
Yeah, because I was like my entire life I've been too big and now that I'm too small you don't like it? Like tough
Right, it's like,
shit.
"What the fuck? What am I, Goldie weight? Like, I can't reach a happy
Right,
medium."
and this is where I can't stress this enough when we talk about a healthy weight. I look at pictures from my sophomore year of college, and my head looks too big for my body. I physically am not meant to be I am I have broad shoulders, I have giant tits, I have thighs, like,
Right.
I'm not physically meant to be small.
Your bones don't change. Like, when you're growing
Right?
from a child to, like, an adult, of course, there is growth, but to be clear, and I this was validated in a video I saw the other day, your bones don't change. So, the term "big boned," it's a little bit of a sometimes it equates to me with, like, "Oh, you have such a pretty face." Like, it's something that was said to me a
Oh,
lot that sits in a similar it sits in the same place that, "Oh, it's just baby fat" sits, like, those 3 things. However, it is the one thing out of those 3 things that, it is it is real and your bones don't change. So the structure of your body you can manipulate your muscles, you can manipulate your fat, but you cannot change the structure of your skeleton.
no,
Like,
literally, literally,
some
and, like
people can naturally carry more or less, and some people, yeah, like, they're somewhere in the middle.
well, and, like, if you so, I, um I want to go back to school for psychology, so I look into a lot of this stuff, and actually, if you do research on, body types, and I don't mean like, I want everybody to hear me, that if you wanna talk about internal family systems and, like, the evolution of people, I am gonna speak for myself. I'm a Black woman. I am also a light-skinned Black woman, which means that as a slave, historically, the types of jobs and work that people that look like me were doing were not in the field. They were inside the house. They were the caregivers. They were the people that cooked. They were the nurturers. And if you want to talk about somebody that is lugging groceries and babies and like you're physically going to be bigger than somebody who is out in the field chopping wood.
In the
So
sun and
in the
sweating and
sun, yes. So I can't, like, yeah, again, like I said, I'm not a doctor yet, but, it is, I think that I did and this is just something that I am a natural researcher. I tried to research myself out of depression many times in my life, and I probably always will because that's my default mode. So I am always looking for answers on why I am the way I am. When I learned that, I was like, well, no shit. No, that's why I look funny really small because I'm not built. Like, I
Yeah.
have said this my whole life. I have not tried to conceive, so I don't know this, but I have birthing hips. I have wide hips. To me, I'm like, okay, I'm meant to be a mother. Like, physically, I am meant to birth a child.
Yeah, and that's another, in addition to the whole thing about, you can't change your bones, it's like, women are also shaped differently than men because of evolution and the fact that our bodies typically are, built to conceive and to carry a child. And so we are shaped differently and oftentimes maybe curvier or bigger than men. That's literally just the way, genetically that we're predisposed. And, that I think also brings up a lot of, traditional, male versus female body types and perceptions. You talk about marketing earlier and, marketing to men versus women. Like I mean, there are so many layers to this topic. There's food,
So many.
there's weight, there's exercise, there's dieting, like, there's no way.
There's health.
Yeah, there's no way we could touch on
Yeah.
this all, but what I do know, sort of all the messages that I was receiving, from, whether it was people or TV shows or magazines, which was a big thing when we were kids. It started with restriction, like I said, or my experiences at weight loss camp. The culmination of all of that for me was fat equals bad, and I'm it.
Right. Yeah.
And so I I don't know what was worse, the battle with my body or my mind, because I convinced myself, and some people validated it, unfortunately, a lot of different things, that boys wouldn't like me because of the way that I looked, and in turn I would never have a romantic relationship. um I convinced myself because of this belief that I was, the designated ugly fat friend. I
God, I hated that movie, The Duff. I never watched it, but I hated the title. I hated the fucking title.
And ultimately, like, it has a good message, but yeah, it's a rough title. I thought to myself that everyone around me thinks that I'm lazy because I'm fat, and that
You
everyone
were
is
not
looking at
lazy.
me. Thank you, but, again, it's the
Mm.
battle of the mind. I
It's the battle of the
I
mind,
was
yeah.
convinced that everyone was looking at me when I was eating, thinking, "Does she really need that?" And again, sometimes people said as much, and I ultimately thought that I deserved all of this because I wasn't disciplined enough to lose weight. So what did I do? I did everything to project the opposite. I entered into sexual situations far too early because that made me feel valued by the opposite sex. I led with sort of faux confidence and wit and humor because I wanted to attract positive attention while distracting sort of from. But yes, and I would say of all the things, that is honestly, that was a blessing because I
I'm
could
like,
have
"'Cause you
also
are
kind
so
of.
funny, but you
Thank
are
you.
so funny." So,
I
like,
feel
that
like I
is
could have
you.
gone insular, right? Like, I could have gone into myself, and I sort of, like, decided to project the opposite. So, I would say that was a positive, but, like, I worked really hard in school and extracurriculars because I thought if I could just keep myself busy, I'm sort of debunking this inaccurate fear that I'm lazy. I avoided eating in front of other people. I built a big, giant metaphorical wall that was so high and so strong around me to protect me from the very ridicule that that I harbored inside that wall, which is my brain. And that's a bit of a monologue, but I say that because I want to acknowledge that sometimes it's not just a battle of the body, it's a battle of the mind.
And that's the harder one to win. That is the harder one to win.
I'm so lucky that there was a couple of people in my life, you included, it wasn't much, but it was a signal to me that something wasn't quite right and that I didn't need to live this way.
Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. I remember that conversation with you, Ashley, where I hated as your friend to know that you carried that, and it just is like you were such a beautiful physically, but also just on the inside person. And I hate that that is how you felt on the inside. I'm so emotional.
I'm so sorry that I got
No,
you there.
no, it's okay. No, but that's just who I am. I used to cry looking at obituaries when I was a kid of people I didn't know. But it's
That's
just
so empathic.
it's
Empathetic? Empathetic.
it's a blessing and a curse, let me tell you. But it's just somebody like you who is so accomplished and brilliant and funny and beautiful. To think that you would be reduced to the outside is and not just you. I mean, I felt that way, and a lot of people feel that way. Your weight and your job are the least interesting things about you to me. Genuinely, they are the least interesting things about you. And I think, because Ashley and I have known each other for so long, it's I remember being at lunch with you or being at dinner with you, or just you and I, the way that we would diet and exercise, and we would go to Zumba classes, and it's on the outside we're oh, we just want to be healthy, but that's what you
Mhm.
tell people. You tell
Yeah.
people that, but that's not what's happening on the
Yeah.
inside.
But that's the point, to be honest, of me saying all of this, is what I said at the top of the episode. 8 years ago, I could never share everything I just told you and told whoever's listening. But my silence was my secret, and my secret made me sick.
And there's no shame. There's no shame.
There's no shame, but, like, me, along with all of us, are a work in progress. You know, my
Always.
my recovery, if we wanna call it that, is not linear, and it will always be sort of the shadow that follows me. That's my cross to bear. That's what I am gonna always have and I'm gonna battle with. I learn something new all the time about what led me here, and I work really hard to speak more kindly to myself.
I'm so proud of you for that, by the way, because I noticed a big shift in you. When we were in our early 20s, I mean, listen, everybody can be self-deprecating, but I can't remember what it was, but I remember being she doesn't need to be this hard on herself. It was and you kept doing it in jokes. And I was you don't. And I think I was is she saying these things to be funny, or is she saying these things because she thinks that way?
Both, right? Because
And
it's
right,
funny,
cuz right.
when 26, when I started therapy, was really where it all changed for me, but it was at the encouragement of people that loved me, and even people I knew, since childhood, at that
Yeah.
juncture, like, started stopping me and were like, "You are, like, the self-deprecation, like, it's actually not funny anymore." Like, now
You're "Now I'm concerned."
I'm
Yeah.
concerned, and, like, "You need to explore that, sister friend." And I was just like, "Oh."
And sometimes the people in our lives need to be the mirrors that we can't be. Because especially I think for people like you and I who are so quick to make fun of ourselves and to laugh at ourselves, that is an awesome thing about us, but it also comes from a deep insecurity. And it comes from, I know for me, I won't speak for you. I make fun of myself before you can make fun of me.
Absolutely.
So eventually what happens is you started, we're put in situations where the people around us are we don't think these things about you. What is this joke? And then
Mhm.
you're like, "Oh,
Like I said, I'm a work in progress. This isn't to say, like, I'm one of those girls that I overcame it and I finally lost the weight. Like, that's not, like, what my story is about.
and that's not the point."
The demons inside me, they try to rebel against that every single day and tell me that, the things you're saying aren't true and people are just saying things to be nice.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
bullshit. Like, that's
Yeah.
not what this is about. Like, I am learning to listen to the cues that my body is trying to give me about when it's hungry and when it's full. I want to fuel my body. I want to make it feel good physically, but I also like want to eat stuff that brings me joy like we were just
Yep.
talking about. Like if you
Like our death row meals,
right, like
which I just wanna say something, not neither one of us said a salad. Neither one
right.
of us said a salad.
And listen,
And listen, there are some damn good salads out there,
hell yeah.
but, like, if I'm gonna die, the last thing I eat is not gonna be a fucking kale Caesar from Sweet Green with hot sauce and no chicken. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's not gonna be what I eat.
Absolutely. It's not what I'm gonna eat, and I've been in those places where I've dropped a ton of weight in a unhealthy way, and I think that that was also secretive. And part of that, you mentioned something, I think I heard you sort of mention, like, over exercise, like, that's also
Yeah.
something that comes into play.
That was a big thing that's still a big thing for me. That's how
Yes.
I know that I struggle is when I can't sit down,
Right.
like, and I just constantly work out. Mhm.
And I feel like you feel this way, but and even though, like I said, the demons creep in, but, like, you're moving your body intentionally because it clears your mind and maybe it
Yeah.
gives you a little high, an endorphin high. You're not necessarily doing it as a reason to lower a number on a scale, which, by the way, like,
Not anymore.
I went 4 years without dieting or weighing myself, and I
I don't weigh myself
focused on
either.
that mental part that I talked about, and, like, I'm gonna be super, super honest. I am starting to introduce certain methods that are beneficial for my
That's
long-term
okay.
health, but
That's
I am
okay.
super careful about, like, not pushing myself back into disordered habits,
Yeah.
and disordered habits can be weighing yourself constantly, measuring yourself, over-exercising, overeating, undereat I mean,
Restriction, any
it's
kind of
it all falls
w
under this umbrella.
one thing I had to learn, and, I still struggle with it, is that I can't restrict myself.
Mhm.
Restriction for me, if in terms of what I eat, when I drink, how I exercise, that is a slippery slope for me. I know
Yep.
that my body and my mind react better when I eat the cheesecake if I want the cheesecake. If I feel like, oh, if I'm feeling kind of gross and I want to go for a walk or I want to take a spin class, do it. But, like, I had another coworker, different job, who said to me once, and I think this is also actually coincidentally, we probably were around the same age because it was when I left our job and started our my new job after that, and she said, "I can't." And we used to do Friday lunches, at the office. We would do, like, longer lunches on Fridays. We'd go out to eat, and she said to me, and she's somebody that's become one of my very close friends, and she will be a guest on this pod one day. Um, and she said to me, she goes, "I can't continue to plan our lunches around your dinners." And, like, she
Oh,
said it jokingly, like, she wasn't mad. She was like, because 'cause I'd be like, "Oh, I can't go here for lunch because I have dinner plans at this place." Like, you know what I mean? Like, she, like,
I wanna make sure I'm interpreting that correctly, meaning, correct me if I'm wrong, meaning you knew you were gonna indulge at dinner, so you didn't wanna go to a certain place or
"Yep,
indulge too much at lunch? Okay.
yep, yeah." And
Yeah.
it was so funny because when she said that to me, and she said it jokingly, she wasn't mad, and I realized, I was like, "Oh my god." Because now my restriction is not just affecting me, it's affecting my coworkers who wanna go and have Thai food on a Friday.
Yeah, I guess you've also uncovered another, I don't wanna label you, but I've experienced it too, and I would consider it, sort of a disordered habit of, like, and it's just part of restriction. But yeah, it's sort of like sometimes your addictions impact other people. And, you can be addicted to food, you can be addicted to dieting, you can be addicted to the high of seeing the scale get lower.
Yep.
It can all be a slippery slope if not curbed. But yeah, that I imagine is a pretty big moment. You said something earlier about mirroring, like when people start to sort
Yeah.
of like mirror back at you what you've said. I think when I entered into the relationship with my now husband, he was a big mirror for me, not because he was critical or pointing things out, but there were just things that he sort of like said back to me that I said to him. And he complimented me once and said, "Oh, like you look like you've lost weight." And I snapped and I was like, "Don't
Yep,
ever."
don't say that to
Said,
me.
"Don't ever talk about my body or my eating habits." Because then a week before that, he said something like, "You don't eat very much." And I said, "Don't," and I sort of like I shut down and I got really quiet for
Yep.
when he later said something about my weight and looking like I lost weight, which I realize in a typical sort of stereotypical situation when someone says, "Oh, you look like you lost weight," it's a positive,
Supposed to be a compliment,
it's positive
but it's not
intention
always.
and it's intended to be taken positively. But when you are someone that is so hyper focused on your body, whether it be big or small or trying to lose weight or gain weight, the notion, the validation that someone is actually looking at your body and evaluating it is sometimes just puts you over the edge. And I think you've had this conversation with people in your life. I've had conversations now that I've been able to sort of add more of a vocabulary to it and I really have a language for how I feel now. I'm not snapping at someone. I'm able to calmly say, "You know what? When you comment on my body, it's just not helpful to my recovery. And I know that you have good intention, but sometimes if it's positive, then I'm going to worry if I gain weight, that positivity is going to go away. And if it's a
Yep.
negative comment, then it's only going to send me further." And I can say that now and hope. And listen, if people don't hear me after I say it that way, then they can fuck off because I think that's the most diplomatic I'm able
That's
to say
you
it.
know what do you know what that is, Ashley? That's called setting a boundary.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
boundaries are appropriate and healthy. I said this to somebody earlier, and I say this about myself a lot to other people. I say, "Hey, you know that demon that lives inside of me? That dark passenger a la Stassi Schroeder?" I go, "If you don't want her to come out, don't say things that are gonna make her come out."
Mhm.
Now, I will also say I'm an adult and I also need to learn how to control my emotions and my reactions. But also, if we're talking about my partner and my husband and the people in my inner circle who are the closest to me, if
Mhm.
you don't want that demon to come out, don't say things that are going to make that demon come out. But that also means like me going to the doctor and telling my doctor, which let me tell
Mhm.
you, I did this um 4 years ago when I got my new doctor. So, like, I was what, 29, 28, 29? Yeah, I was 28 because I had just met my now husband. And it had taken me that long in my life to be able to say to a doctor, "Hey, I don't want to talk about the number on the scale. I don't look." I go, "The only reason I only want to talk about my weight if it affects my health, and guess what? My blood panels are always beautiful."
Amen to that. I love that we're sort of ending on the note of boundaries. I want to say that, it is so powerful to be loved by people and to, feel like loved and adored by your partner or your friends or your family. And like that's great, but like ultimately, I think we both know that that has actually 0 impact on how you feel about yourself because no one can help you or change you, how you think about yourself but you. And
Totally.
so on that note, we just wanna encourage and tell everyone listening, you are beautiful, you are loved, we love you. Thank you for listening. I know this was a longer one, but I think it was an important one.
It's an important one.
And we're so glad we got to share this with you, and I'm sorry I made you cry, Alexis.
It's okay. I love
I love
you.
you. I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.